Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Cie, the art and science of watch collection. Today we're going to be talking about H. Moser. Actually, what we're going to have is that I was fortunate enough to interview the CEO of H. Moser, Edouard Meylan. That's the best I can do. On he was at Cellini's on Park Avenue. It's a Cellini jewelry store where they have all of the best independent watches there. If you're in New York, you got to make a visit to Cellini's, and I want to thank Leo Adams for letting me have the interview right in the middle of everything. Now, what you're going to see is there's a lot of noise going on in the background as people have come to meet Mr. Meylan and look at Moser watches. Of course, a watch collector will look at all the watches. Okay, well, the first thing that I did is I asked Mr. Meylan about the fact that their watches, I have this one in particular and some other ones I have, why they ran at 2.5 hertz. And so that was the first one. I'll be going back and forth between the interview. And I got to tell you, I'm probably the worst watch interviewer because wasn't there like some serious kind of interviewer, tell me, what's going on, anything like that. I was having too much fun. So bear with me. A couple of years ago, I interviewed a number of watchmakers who are really top-notch watchmakers, Marco Lang and Perry Rutenlanen and a lot of other ones. But the thing about that I noticed was that their watches were all under 4 hertz.
Yeah.
And I asked them, because those are the watches I really like. And I was wondering why. Because, when all of the other ones use 4 hertz, all of these good ones were using, and I was nervous when I saw you move from 2.5 to 3.
Well, it depends on what you want to do, but it's true that for us, the reason why we're 2.5 hertz, I think it was before my time, but there's really a reason. I think there's this kind of pocket watch movement style, with long power reserve, big size, balance wheel that you could, with big size balance wheel that you could really appreciate. As long as you can ensure the precision and the isochronismus, I think it's nice to be able to see really this movement rather than having it too fast. And for the complications that we're using, and we felt very comfortable with that. We'd rather have 2.5 hertz with a 10 days power reserve rather than increasing the hertz and losing power reserve. We feel it's very important to, we could maybe improve isochronismus by a second or two, but then we would have to reduce significantly the power reserve. I think it's more convenient to have a low power.
The next watch that we talked about was the Perpetual Calendar. Here's an Endeavor Perpetual Calendar. There are a number of different ones that they have. This watch is really incredible. The first time I saw it, I was shown it to me by Mike Margolis, who's the American representative for this. So let's take a look or listen to what Mr. Meylan had to say. Those are beautiful. Those are the best perpetuals.
I fell in love with Moser because of that Perpetual Calendar. I didn't invent it.
The best thing about it is setting it.
Yeah.
It's just, Mike showed me. He showed me.
We call it a user-friendly Perpetual Calendar. Perpetual calendars in general, people are scared to touch them because if you break them, cost you a bomb and you lose it or you miss it for 6 months. We wanted a Perpetual Calendar that people can really feel comfortable using every day. And we even have a version you can go swimming with it. It's 120 meter water resistant, and I think it's important to have a beautiful watch that you can actually really use it. Otherwise, what's the point? Then it's just something you put in your safe and just look with your eyes here and there. So.
The next thing that has always impressed me about the H. Moser watches is the fact that they deliver more than they promise. In other words, if something is going to be like this one right here, this Venture Small Seconds, that it says it's got a 3-day power reserve, it always goes more than that. And so, it was something I asked about too.
Said that they always outperform. If they say they have a 3-day charge, they'll go 5. But this one with a 7-day wouldn't stop. It just kept on going. I was perfectly happy with that too.
Because it's a quartz. No, but you know how the barrel works. You have the power, and then after a certain amount of time, the energy drops. The reason why we say 7 is because that's the phase when it's really flat and when it's very accurate. Then for 8, 9, it's still very good, but we cannot guarantee it every time. It will run definitely, and then it will slowly go down. It stays. But we want that 99.9% of the watches follow this curve, and that's where we cannot guarantee. We put some margin. We know that they at least good for 8, 9 days, and they run 10 to 11.
The next thing that I wanted to ask about were the changes that are taking place. For example, the picture there is an Endeavor Center Seconds automatic. Now, this is pretty much the same as my Endeavor Center Seconds, but mine's not an automatic, it's a 7-day. So I thought, well, this is something that I should ask about.
Great watch. This is why. Let me ask you. I noticed that the Endeavor Center Seconds now has a rotor and,
automatic, yeah.
And you have the HMC 200 in it now.
Yeah. Why? No, but we are working on a new 10 days power reserve. We want. I mean, this one was extremely expensive to produce. Extremely expensive. And at some point you need to be careful that you create things that make sense. So we're working on a new version. I want it to be slimmer, probably also 2.5 hertz, and give us the possibility to do something with that as an evolution of what we already have. But that's another couple of years, a couple of years before we can bring it to the market.
What I've noticed how the trend has changed. And I know it's a sensible one. I mean, for a business.
One of the next things was that a lot of I've seen with a lot of Moser owners is that they say they don't understand why everybody doesn't want a Moser, an H Moser, and it's a funny thing. It's that way. I mean, people who have seen them for the first time say the same thing. Oh my God, that's really, some watch. So with all of the aspects to them, why not? So I ask about that. All right, this came up on our talk, this next segment.
We train. I mean, for me, it's important to be transparent. People will know, and you know very well your watches, etc. So I think it's important to explain, and people usually understand the complexity and why it takes time and why it's expensive, and that we can make also mistakes. What's good with Oli is a trained master watchmaker. He assembled Perpetual Calendar. And at some point he came to me and said, I want to move into the other side of the business, was on the sales side, but I'm not trained. I said, you will learn by doing. We have great people who can teach you. What they don't know is all the things you know about the watches. So it's done customer relationship management and stuff like that, because there's nobody better than a watchmaker to explain to you without any marketing, fuzz around it, the reality of what we do. And that's what I like. I think it's important to be straight to the point, honest, and not try to oversell.
More people have asked me why H. Moser isn't more popular, and then they buy one. Especially the people who buy them. They say, my God, this is a great watch.
One of the other new things that we talked about was this H. Moser Cie Streamliner. Now, the Streamliner was developed with H. Moser and with Adenho. I can't say it as well as was said. I always say it wrong. But anyway, there was this fantastic chronograph that was made by and developed by Jean-Marc Viderec of Agenhorst called the Eigengraph, there were some key changes made in the Streamliner that H. Moser did, and this was another thing that came up in our talk.
I got a whole bunch of other things I wanted to ask you, but I guess I have to ask you something responsible first, and the one everyone else has. Where do you see the changes that you're making? How do you see it evolving?
The changes I'm making to the brand or to the product, or
the way I look at it is that automatics are way more popular than hand wound, and so this is why the automatics. And the concept watches, wow, those are beautiful. I just love those. Everybody gets excited about it, and.
But you know, the decisions, I mean, the concept, it was just an idea. I never thought it would be that successful. But now it is, and it helps us create new things. I think it's important to be different. In terms of movement, you know, when I arrived, we had the 3 days power reserve hand wound, we had the 10 days power reserve hand wound, we had the big date hand wound, we have the perpetual hand wound. So we were trying to improve all of those, focusing on the key ones like the perpetual moon, the perpetual calendar. Then we said, okay, we need to bring something new where a lot of those watches were way too expensive to produce because of the complexity of fine-tuning the movement. Actually, some of those movements where you would take 1 week to assemble, whereas you would need a few hours if it had been constructed well. So do you start from zero? On the case on the Perpetual, we said we do re-engineering, but on a 3 days power reserve, it's too much work. So you better start from zero. And then we said, since we already have all those hand wound, why don't we make first an automatic? It doesn't mean we're not going to continue to do hand wound movements. Just you need to have a nice product mix. If you want, for me, it was important to create a new line of products that wouldn't cannibalize the rest, and that's the Pioneer, which is a little bit more everyday watch, very practical. And for an everyday watch, practical, water resistant, it's better to have an automatic because you have a screw down crown. If you're constantly opening, closing, because every 2 days you need to wind it up, eventually you need to change the crown or all those things. I think it's much better to have something automatic. But as I said, we're developing right now another 10 days power reserve, slimmer, and we're working also on an extra flat movement.
Finally, the final thing that was discussed was the Straumann hairspring. This hairspring is used by a lot of other watch companies, the other independents. One I know for sure is MB&F. And this was developed by Moser, and it's such a good hairspring. It was developed, I think, with niobium and titanium for having the non-magnetic attributes to it that were very much favored. So this was how we had the last part of the interview.
Another thing that I really like that you've done is that you have the, and I'll say this wrong, the
Agenhorst. Chronograph.
Sounds so much better when you say it. And are you going to be doing more with Agenhorst?
You see, I mean, the idea is this. For me, the chronograph from Agenhorst is the best chronograph ever.
It is.
And what we want to do is to continue developing it with them to make it evolve in the future. So that's the starting point. We're going to continue with this as it is today, the flyback automatic. But in a few years, we'll have something else. Maybe we add a function on it. The dream would be even to combine it with the Perpetual Calendar. Agenhorst together with the Perpetual Calendar from Moser, that's my grail movement. I think one thing that a lot of people don't know is that we make our hairsprings. We produce the hairsprings and the escapement internally. We make everything, the balance wheel, the hairspring, the small screws on it. We produce for ourselves, but we also supply brands like MB&F, the Caribou Linen, and and we're very proud about that.
You produce about 2,000 watches and 25,000 hairsprings,
A
right?
little bit more than that, and we're growing on the hairspring side now. And we are bringing new technologies, so I think there's a potential for us there to continue. But what's nice is a lot of the independent brands work with us, and they're very transparent about that, whereas a lot of big brands that work with us don't talk about that.
Other than MB&F, is there anyone else that you can tell me about who you're from?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the independents. Not all of them want to say, but there are many that win the Grand Prix. You know, like the Perpetual, you know, the Cellini,
That I happen to know about. Okay, well, I think that ought to cover it.
Well, that's it. I realized that the venue at Cellini was very noisy, and I hope you're able to hear okay. If you listen carefully, you can. I can't hear worth a bean anyway, so it didn't bother me. But I want to thank Leo Adams at Cellini's, and I really want to thank Edouard Meylan for taking the time to talk to me about H. Moser watches. Like to hear your opinion, and until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Cie, the art and science of watch collection.